Imagine ending every night with a simple ritual that quietly resets your body, calms your mind, and helps your natural performance feel more effortless, more confident, and more in control, not through shortcuts, but through consistency that most men completely overlook. What if the real difference was not in what happens in the moment, but in what you do long before it ever begins? Tonight's focus is something most people would dismiss too quickly. Yet it has been quietly gaining attention among men who are starting to understand that performance is not only about strength or desire, but about circulation, relaxation, hormonal balance, and the nervous system working in harmony instead of resistance. This is not about magic solutions, and it is not about exaggerated claims. It is about a nighttime oil routine that supports the body in returning to a healthier baseline, where energy, sensitivity, and confidence are not forced, but naturally available. The idea begins with something very simple. Your body at night is not inactive. It is repairing, restoring, and recalibrating everything that was stressed during the day. Blood flow patterns shift, hormone production adjusts, and the nervous system transitions between alertness and deep recovery. When this process is supported instead of interrupted, men often notice improvements not only in physical performance, but also in mood stability, sleep quality, and emotional connection. The nighttime oil routine works because it aligns with this natural recovery window instead of fighting against it. Let's start with the foundation of the routine. The first layer is circulation support. Many men do not realize that one of the most overlooked contributors to performance issues is reduced blood flow caused by stress, inactivity, or tight muscles. During the day, sitting for long hours, mental pressure, and even poor posture can subtly restrict circulation in key areas. Over time, this creates a kind of low-flow state in the body where energy is present, but not fully reaching where it needs to go. This is where warm natural oils come in. Oils such as coconut oil, olive oil, and certain herbal-infused blends are not just moisturizers. When gently massaged into the lower abdomen, inner thighs, and lower back before sleep, they encourage warmth and relaxation in tissues that are often tense. The act of massage itself stimulates nerve endings, which signals the body to increase localized blood flow. This is not instant transformation, but a gradual retraining of how the body responds to touch, relaxation, and rest. But the deeper effect is not only physical. There is a psychological shift that happens when a man begins to engage in a nightly self-care ritual. It creates a moment of pause, a break from constant stimulation, pressure, and performance-based thinking. Instead of chasing results, the mind begins to associate the body with care rather than stress. This matters more than most people realize, because performance anxiety is often not about the body failing, but about the mind interfering with natural response. Now consider the second layer of the routine, which is nervous system regulation. The human body has two primary states that matter here: the sympathetic state, which is fight or flight, and the parasympathetic state, which is rest, recovery, and digestion. Most modern men spend far too much time in the first state. Work stress, digital overload, and constant mental stimulation keep the nervous system slightly activated, even at night. When warm oil massage is combined with slow breathing, it signals safety to the brain. The body interprets slow, repetitive touch as a cue that there is no threat present. As this signal strengthens over time, the nervous system becomes more efficient at switching into recovery mode. This is where hormonal balance begins to improve naturally. Testosterone production, for example, is closely linked to deep sleep quality and reduced stress hormones. When the body finally feels safe enough to rest deeply, it reallocates energy toward repair and regulation instead of survival. The third layer of the routine is sensitivity restoration. Over time, due to stress, overexposure to stimulation, or even emotional disconnection, many men experience a gradual dulling of physical sensitivity. This does not happen suddenly, and it is often ignored until it begins affecting confidence and performance. The gentle application of oil combined with mindful touch helps reawaken nerve sensitivity in a non-pressured environment. This is important because sensitivity is not just physical. It is neurological. The more the nervous system is engaged in calm, controlled, non-goal-oriented touch, the more responsive it becomes in intimate situations. In other words, the body relearns how to feel without stress attached to it. This is one of the most underrated aspects of male performance improvement because it shifts focus away from force and toward awareness. There is also a hormonal rhythm involved that ties everything together. At night, the body naturally increases production of certain restorative hormones while reducing stress-related chemicals. However, this process is easily disrupted by late-night screen exposure, irregular sleep, or unresolved tension in the body. A consistent oil routine acts like a signal to the body that the day is ending and recovery should begin. Over time, this consistency can help stabilize sleep cycles, which indirectly supports energy, stamina, and performance the following day. What makes this routine powerful is not complexity, but repetition. The human body responds more strongly to consistent patterns than to intense but irregular effort. A man who performs this routine, even in a simple form every night, is essentially training his body to enter a predictable state of relaxation and recovery. That predictability becomes the foundation for improved confidence, because uncertainty is often what creates performance pressure in the first place. It is also important to understand what this routine is not. It is not an instant fix. It does not override lifestyle habits, emotional stress, or underlying health issues. Instead, it works as a supportive framework that enhances what the body is already trying to do naturally. When combined with better sleep, hydration, and stress management, the effects become more noticeable over time. Another overlooked benefit is the emotional grounding it creates. Many men carry tension they do not consciously recognize. The act of slowing down, touching the body with care, and giving attention to physical presence creates a subtle release of stored stress. This is not dramatic or immediate, but it builds over time into a calmer baseline state. And in intimate relationships, that calmness often translates into more presence, better communication, and reduced anxiety around performance. At its core, this nighttime oil routine is not about oil at all. It is about rebuilding a connection between mind and body that modern life often disrupts. It is about shifting from reaction to awareness, from pressure to presence, and from forced performance to natural function. When the body feels supported instead of pressured, it responds differently. More steadily, more confidently, more naturally. And this is where everything begins to change, not in a sudden breakthrough, but in a quiet nightly repetition that most people would underestimate until they experience its compounding effect over time. Continuing from where we left, The real power of this nighttime oil routine begins to appear when it stops being a vague idea and becomes a structured, intentional practice that your body can recognize and respond to consistently. Most men never reach this stage because they treat self-care as occasional rather than rhythmic, but the body responds best when it knows what to expect and when to expect it. That predictability is what slowly rewires the internal systems involved in recovery, energy regulation, and physical responsiveness. The first important element in building the routine properly is timing. The body does not respond the same way at random hours as it does when it is already preparing for sleep. Ideally, this routine should begin in the final hour before sleep, when external stimulation is reduced and the mind is already starting to slow down. This timing matters because the nervous system is more receptive to calming signals during this window. If the routine is done too early, the body may return to a more alert state afterward. If it is done too late in a rushed way, the relaxation response becomes incomplete. The goal is not speed, but transition. Once the timing is established, the next layer is preparation of the environment. This is often ignored, yet it plays a major role in how deeply the body responds. The space should feel safe, quiet, and free from interruptions. Even small adjustments, like lowering light intensity or reducing screen exposure, can significantly enhance the effect of the routine. The nervous system is constantly scanning for environmental cues, and when it detects calm surroundings, it allows the body to shift more easily into repair mode. This is why the same massage or oil application can feel completely different depending on the environment in which it is performed. Now comes the oil selection, which is where many people either overcomplicate things or underestimate its importance. The purpose of the oil is not just hydration, but warmth, glide, and gentle stimulation of surface nerves. Natural oils are preferred because they interact smoothly with the skin without causing irritation or excessive stimulation. Coconut oil is often used for its warming and soothing properties, while olive oil provides a deeper, slower absorption that supports extended massage. Some men also prefer blends infused with herbs known for relaxation effects, but the key is simplicity rather than variety. The body responds better to consistency than constant switching. Before applying oil, there is a crucial step that increases its effectiveness significantly. Light warming of the hands and a few slow breaths are enough to prepare the body for contact. This may sound simple, but it shifts its tension away from mental noise and into physical awareness. When the mind is scattered, touch feels mechanical. When the mind is present, touch becomes regulatory. This difference determines whether the routine remains surface level or becomes deeply restorative. The application process should always begin gently, without urgency. The oil is not something to rush into the skin, but something to slowly introduce through steady, mindful movement. The lower abdomen is often a primary focus because it is closely connected to the core nervous system and tends to hold tension from stress and posture. Slow circular motions here help release internal tightness and encourage warmth to spread naturally through surrounding tissues. This is not about force, but about rhythm. From there, attention can move gradually toward the inner thighs and lower back. These areas are often overlooked in daily life, yet they carry a significant amount of stored tension due to sitting, walking patterns, and general muscular strain. When these regions are gently massaged, Circulation improves not only locally, but throughout connected pathways in the body. The sensation that follows is often described as a spreading warmth or heaviness that signals deep relaxation beginning to take hold. Breathing plays an essential role throughout the entire process. Slow, controlled breathing helps synchronize the nervous system with the physical rhythm of touch. Inhale through the nose in a calm, steady manner, and exhale slightly longer than the inhale. This extended exhale is particularly important because it signals safety to the brain. Over time, the body begins to associate this breathing pattern with relaxation, making it easier to enter a calm state even before the massage begins. One of the most important insights about this routine is that pressure does not equal effectiveness. Many men instinctively believe that deeper pressure or faster movement will produce better results. But in reality, excessive intensity can activate tension responses in the muscles and nervous system. The goal is not to stimulate aggression in the body, but to encourage release. Gentle, sustained touch often produces far more profound effects than forceful manipulation. As the routine continues over days and weeks, something subtle begins to change in how the body responds to touch in general. Areas that once felt numb or disconnected start to feel more responsive. The nervous system begins to recalibrate its sensitivity thresholds, allowing for more awareness of physical sensations. This does not happen suddenly, but gradually, as the brain begins to recognize touch as safe rather than neutral or ignored. Another important aspect that enhances results is consistency in sequence. Performing the same general order each night helps the body anticipate what comes next. This anticipation is not psychological only. It becomes physiological. Heart rate, breathing patterns, and muscle tone begin to adjust even before contact begins. This is where routine transforms into conditioning. The body is no longer reacting. It is preparing. However, one common mistake is expecting immediate results within a few nights. This routine works through accumulation rather than intensity. The first few sessions may feel relaxing, but not transformative. Over time, however, the compounding effect becomes noticeable in sleep depth, morning energy, and general physical responsiveness. This delayed effect often causes people to underestimate the routine and abandon it too early, before the real benefits have time to develop. Sleep quality is one of the first major areas to show improvement. As the nervous system learns to enter deeper relaxation states more easily, the transition into sleep becomes smoother. Instead of carrying tension into the night, the body begins to release it beforehand. This leads to fewer interruptions, more stable sleep cycles, and a more refreshed waking state. Since sleep is directly linked to hormonal regulation, especially testosterone balance, this improvement indirectly supports performance in ways that are not immediately visible but deeply influential. Emotionally, a subtle shift also begins to take place. The act of consistent self-care reduces internal pressure and creates a sense of grounded stability. This is particularly important for men who experience performance anxiety or mental distraction in intimate situations. When the body is familiar with calm, it becomes easier to remain present rather than overthinking or reacting under pressure. Presence, in many cases, is more important than effort. The most overlooked benefit of this entire stage of the routine is trust. Not trust in an external outcome, but trust in the body itself. Many men operate with a kind of silent doubt about their physical responses. especially when stress or inconsistency has been present in the past. This routine slowly rebuilds that trust by creating reliable, repeatable experiences of relaxation and responsiveness. Over time, the body becomes less of a question mark and more of a stable foundation. As this part of the routine becomes familiar, it naturally prepares the ground for deeper refinements, such as combining it with hydration timing, dietary support, and stress reduction habits that further enhance its effectiveness. But before moving into those advanced layers, it is important to fully stabilize this foundation first, because without consistency, even the best optimizations lose their impact. Now that the structure, timing, and physical technique of the nighttime oil routine are clear, the final stage is where everything begins to merge into something deeper than a habit. This is where it stops being a routine you do and becomes a state your body naturally enters. That shift is subtle, but it is exactly where long-term changes in performance, confidence, and emotional steadiness begin to show up in a noticeable way. At this level, the most important factor is not the oil, not the massage technique, and not even the exact timing. It is the internal consistency of the nervous system response. When you repeat the same calming sequence every night, the body stops treating relaxation as an occasional event and starts treating it as a predictable outcome. That predictability is powerful because uncertainty is one of the biggest hidden disruptors of male performance. When the body is uncertain, it stays slightly guarded. When it is certain, it releases control more easily. Over time, this repeated signal of safety begins to reshape how stress is processed throughout the entire day, not just at night. Men often notice that situations which previously triggered tension or overthinking start to feel less intense. This is because the nervous system is no longer stuck in a constant low-grade alert state. Instead, it learns to cycle more efficiently between activation and recovery. And that balance is what supports both physical performance and emotional control. Another long-term effect appears in confidence, but not the superficial kind of confidence that comes from temporary success. This is quieter and more stable. It comes from the absence of internal resistance. When the body responds predictably, there is less fear of what if something goes wrong. That reduction in fear is often more impactful than any direct physical improvement, because fear itself is one of the main disruptors of natural performance. A major misconception many people have about routines like this is that they are only physical. In reality, the psychological layer is just as important. The nightly oil routine creates a private space where a man is no longer performing, producing, or competing. There is no external expectation in that moment. This absence of pressure is what allows deeper recovery states to emerge. The mind begins to separate identity from performance, which reduces anxiety-driven reactions in intimate situations. As this continues over weeks and months, the body also begins to show improved responsiveness in a more natural way. Not forced or exaggerated, but smoother and more consistent. This is not about increasing intensity, but about reducing interference. Many performance issues are not caused by lack of capability, but by too much mental interference disrupting natural rhythm. When that interference reduces, the body functions closer to its natural design. Sleep continues to be one of the strongest indicators of progress. Deeper sleep cycles, easier transitions into rest, and reduced nighttime restlessness are all signs that the nervous system is adapting. Since sleep is the primary window for hormonal regulation, including testosterone production and tissue recovery, these improvements indirectly reinforce physical performance without any direct effort during the day. Emotionally, another shift begins to emerge that is often overlooked. Men who practice consistent nighttime grounding routines tend to become more emotionally stable in relationships. This does not mean suppression of emotion, but rather better regulation. Instead of reacting impulsively to stress or miscommunication, there is a greater ability to pause internally. That pause is what allows clarity to replace reaction. And in intimate relationships, that clarity often improves connection more than any physical technique. There is also a deeper sense of body awareness that develops. The more attention is given to slow, intentional touch, the more the brain maps the body in detail. This improved body awareness translates into better control, timing, and sensitivity in physical experiences. It is similar to how athletes improve coordination through repetition, except in this case, the training is relaxation-based rather than performance-based. One of the most important truths about this entire practice is that its effectiveness depends on patience. The body does not rebuild patterns overnight. It adapts through repetition. Many people fail to experience the full benefit because they expect rapid transformation and stop too early. But the real changes are cumulative. They build slowly, layer by layer, until one day the difference feels obvious in situations that once felt stressful or unpredictable. It is also important to understand that this routine is not meant to replace overall health habits. It works best as part of a larger system that includes proper sleep, balanced nutrition, movement, and stress management. When combined with those elements, the effects become significantly stronger. Without them, the routine still helps, but it cannot fully compensate for ongoing stress or poor lifestyle patterns. What makes this practice especially powerful is that it is sustainable. There is no dependency on external tools or complex systems. It relies only on consistency and awareness. That means its benefits are not temporary fixes, but gradual recalibrations of how the body behaves under rest and stress conditions. In the long term, men who maintain this kind of nightly recovery ritual often describe a sense of being more in control of their internal state. Not in a rigid way, but in a grounded way. They are less reactive, more present, and more comfortable in their own physical and emotional space. This internal stability naturally reflects outward in relationships, communication, and intimacy. And when everything is brought together, the real purpose of the nighttime oil routine becomes clear. It is not about enhancing one isolated aspect of performance. It is about restoring balance between mind and body so that natural function can express itself without unnecessary interference. Performance, in that sense, becomes a side effect of balance rather than something to be forced. So the final takeaway is simple but powerful. The body already knows how to recover, regulate, and respond. The role of this routine is not to force improvement, but to remove the barriers that prevent that natural process from happening smoothly. And when those barriers slowly disappear, what remains is a more stable, more responsive, and more confident version of yourself that does not need to be pushed into performance, because it already operates from a place of calm control and internal alignment.